The all-new Super Friends Hour is an animated television series produced by Hanna-Barbera that originally aired on the ABC network from 1977 to 1978. This series is the follow-up to the 1973 series that featured Marvin, Wendy, and Wonder Dog. Keep in mind that the popularity of the Linda Carter Wonder Woman television series and Filmation's New Adventures of Batman created an environment that was extremely receptive to the return of the Super Friends. Additionally, there was already a lot of anticipation for Superman the movie, which was filming around this same time period. Naturally, the core lineup of Super Friends reflected this, and along with Aquaman, all these superheroes would return for this incarnation of the team.
I've got a plan to stop him, but it'll take all the Super Friends.
The basic format of the all-new Super Friends included 4 different segments throughout the hour-long show, probably in honor of the early Justice League of America comics from the 1960s. The first short would feature 2 Super Friends teaming up to combat some villainous threat or dire emergency. Unless, of course, Batman was involved, because when it comes to Super Friends, whenever there's a Batman in one of these shorts, a Robin is sure to follow. In the Justice League of America comics, usually the random pairing of heroes eventually led to the entire team meeting at a later point in the story. Conversely, on the all-new Super Friends, these team-ups were always isolated and never led into the main storyline.
Meanwhile, at the Justice League of America headquarters...
Okay, Zan, Jaina, I want you to practice your Wonder Twin powers in a teamwork effort.
Right, Superman.
The second segment featured stories with Marvin and Wendy's replacements, the Wonder Twins, who were accompanied by their pet space monkey called Gleek. Usually this segment would have the Wonder Twins contacted via their teen trouble alert, whereby they would keep fellow teens out of said trouble. Most of these concepts were pilfered without any remorse from life lessons you may remember from Filmation's live-action Shazam television series, or the sister series called The Secrets of Isis. For instance, in the Wonder Twins' debut episode, Joyride, the brother-sister duo save some kids who have taken up an airplane with a bum engine, while the Shazam episode, The Joyriders, basically has the same life lesson, albeit with cars instead of airplanes.
What have you done?
The slime didn't even change the names, man. He gets a big fat promotion.
Another episode, swiped from Filmation's Shazam, includes Speak No Evil, where just like the kids from the Super Friends episode Vandals, both groups break into their school grounds after hours, causing mayhem and property destruction. Also, there's the episode Hitchhike, that would see the Wonder Twins having to save a young girl who was kidnapped while hitchhiking, much like the episode from Secrets of Isis titled The Hitchhiker. On top of that, the Secrets of Isis episode, Scuba Dooba, has a frighteningly similar premise to the Wonder Twins segment titled Shark.
Here's your chance to be super snooty.
Spacey, Sam! Real spacey!
A month after their television debut, the Wonder Twins and Gleek would make their first comic book appearance inside the pages of Super Friends issue number 7. Created by Norm Maurer of Hanna-Barbera Studios, Zan and Jaina are superpowered, shape-changing teens that come from the planet Exor. Believe it or not, Zan and Jaina's names were actually variations on Edgar Rice Burroughs' Tarzan and Jane.
Time for some Exor transportation.
Wonder Twin powers, activate! Shape of an eagle!
Form of water.
The brother-sister duo's abilities become activated when they would bump fists, leading them to shapeshift into a variety of different shapes and forms. Zan's transformation is mainly water-based. Besides the obvious liquid form, he could also take on solid forms such as ice or gaseous shapes such as steam. In addition, Zan could become a weather formation such as a typhoon. Jaina's transformation, on the other hand, is strictly animal-based in nature. Although on the all-new Super Friends Hour, she mostly transformed into animals indigenous to the planet Earth, in her comic book appearances, she also transformed into alien creatures, such as a Kryptonian Tiak deer, or even a mythological creature such as a Centaurus. However, the episode Coming of the Arthropods is the first moment we see Jaina take the form of an alien creature on the show.
Well, Super Sis, are you thinking what I'm thinking?
For once, yes! Wonder Twin powers, activate! Form of a space insect!
Also, Jaina was not limited by currently living creatures and could transform into creatures long extinct, such as dinosaurs.
Wonder Twin powers, activate! Form a Brontosaurus!
Shape of a giant water hand.
What's the matter? You caveman afraid of a little old dinosaur?
However, the majority of the time, you could set your clock to the Wonder Twins taking the rather bland route of the shape of an eagle and the form of water. I see Jaina as the real sarcastic type, who can't help herself but to blurt out some sort of jibe or quip after her brother would foul up.
Are you sure you know what you're doing?
Watch efficiency in action, little sister. Oops!
Well, Mr. Efficiency?
But don't feel too bad for Brother Zan, because once in a blue moon, he actually gets to quip back.
You're a typical woman driver, Jaina.
See any weird women, Zan?
Only you, Super Sis.
E. Nelson Bridwell, besides adding a great deal of depth and variety to the Wonder Twins' transformations inside the pages of the Super Friends comic book, also created a rich backstory and civilian lifestyle for the duo. The twins were outcasts on their homeworld Exor for possessing the recessive trait of shapeshifting. The orphan siblings soon become part of a traveling intergalactic circus where they would meet fellow carnival attraction Gleek.
Come on, Gleek. You know it's time for your weekly bath.
Yeah, take it like a monkey.
Eventually, the three rebel against their circus masters, fleeing to the planet Earth where they would meet the Super Friends and come to replace Marvin and Wendy. The television audience would only see the twins' home planet of Exor in later Super Friends series, as opposed to many comic book appearances concerning Exor. While there is no mention of the Wonder Twins' fugitive status for having left the circus on the television series, I think this point can be easily reconciled by suggesting that episodes like Demons of Exor or Three Wishes take place after Super Friends issue number 21, where the Wonder Twins are pardoned by the Grand Rulers of Exor. While secret identities for the twins were not ever addressed on the cartoons, in the comic books they would go by the names Jan and Joanna Fleming, posing as Swedish exchange students who attend Gotham Central High.
Jay, so, what's going on?
The blur's in even deeper, and it's all our fault.
Well, then what are we waiting for? Powers activated.
Zan and Jaina make their first live-action appearance on the series Smallville, portrayed by David Gallagher and Allison Scagliotti of Warehouse 13 fame. In either continuity, it appears as if Marvin and Wendy have higher Justice League clearance status than the Wonder Twins do. Much in the same way, the twin newbie heroes are in the dark, at first, about the true identity of the Blur on Smallville. On the all-new Super Friends Hour, Zan and Jaina weren't actually privy to the information that Clark Kent was also Superman.
Gosh, Mr. Kent, I'm sure glad you could fill in for Superman and take us to see this.
It's the least I can do for Superman after all he's done for me.
However, by Super Friends issue number 44, Zan and Jaina's Justice League clearance codes must have checked out because they can be seen contacting all of the Super Friends in their various civilian identities. So, all you Marvin fanboys out there, I know you can't possibly go without your Zonkers, but rest assured that Jupiter's is the new Zonkers.
Jupiter's! 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 Jumpin' Jupiter's! Jumpin' Jupiter! Jupiter's! He's got to be stopped!
In addition to appearing in the 9th season episode of Smallville titled Idol, statues of the Wonder Twins can be seen being destroyed on the animated series Justice League. On the follow-up series, Justice League Unlimited, Erzat's versions of the Wonder Twins called Downpour and Shifter show up as members of the super team called the Ultimen, while Gleek is relegated to a cell phone decoration and ringtone on Smallville. He is at least upgraded to a stuffed animal trophy of the Faceless Hunter on Batman Brave and the Bold. Regardless of any haters out there, the Wonder Twins and Gleek have certainly made their mark on the consciousness of pop culture.
Form of the worst gift ever.
Shape of? Hope you kept the receipt.
The third and longest segment features the entire core cast of the Super Friends, usually facing off against some demented supervillain. While not every villain who appears is an official DC Comics supervillain, these new monsters, pirates, and aliens definitely up the stakes from the misguided adults from the Marvin and Wendy days. The new adversaries are no Legion of Doom, but you could see the signs that the creators were beginning to move in that direction. Some of the more weighty, original Hanna-Barbera created villains were guys like Krag, the leader of the underground beings called the Earthors. He really reminds me a lot of General Trag, who led the Rock Soldiers from Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Krag and the Earthors end up constructing a gigantic Superman robot for the Man of Steel to face off against, while his army attacks the other Super Friends. The Shark is a pirate who is supposedly an old foe of Aquaman. However, the Shark doesn't look anything like the Green Lantern villain of the same name, who has sometimes fought with Aquaman. In fact, to me, with his blue skin and beard, he looks more like Keldor from He-Man and the Masters of the Universe.
Holy identical twins, Batman! Look!
Then there's Maan Gore, the evil alien from the frozen planet X3, who pretty much steals Brainiac's modus operandi when he shrinks the Mid-City Zoo and places it inside a bottle with the Wonder Twins trapped inside. Speaking of upping the ante, Lionix of the Lion Men planned to slice up the Earth into 5 parts and then sell off the resources to his fellow aliens. For Saturday morning TV, I found that pretty hardcore. We also have Medulla and her mind-controlled powers that enthrall every woman on the planet Earth against their male counterparts. This includes Jaina and Wonder Woman. Medulla and her cronies may have been defeated by the Super Friends, but I have a funny feeling she's trying to get women everywhere to burn all my copies of Red Hood and the Outlaws.
So that women can rule the world unopposed!
We are with you, Medulla!
The tyrant, Dictor, whose character designs remind me of Ming the Merciless, uses his society's time-altering medallion for his own personal gain when he zaps Superman, Wonder Woman, and Aquaman into children.
I wanted to call my flying fish to rescue us, but Wonder Woman says it's dumb.
What do your stupid fish do once they get here? Besides, my magic lasso will get us out of here.
By the year 1984, seeing our heroes transformed into bratty children is a theme that would continue in the legendary Superpowers show, where red kryptonite would have the same effect on Superman. By the year 2000, the DC Comics event Sins of Youth featured Clarion the Witch Boy turning adults into teens and the teens of Young Justice into adults. Later, in 2004, this theme would return when Morgan Le Fay uses her magic to transform Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman, and Green Lantern into 8-year-olds in the Justice League Unlimited episode titled Kid Stuff.
We found the Super Friends?
The Super Friends? You mean the Super Kids?
There were still misguided mad scientists as well, like Professor Thoreau, but premeditated collision of a kryptonite planetoid with the Earth is not quite as innocent and bumbling as the previous 1973 series. The wild weather created from a new gravitational body and Thoreau's alliance with the alien mastermind Cleazor has much more in common with Dr. Arkeville and Megatron than any Scooby-Doo type schemer. Other mad scientists include Dr. Fright, who with his fear gas dispensing blimp comes across as a poor man's scarecrow. However, Fright does have the claim to fame of stopping Superman in his tracks with nothing more than a cute little kitty cat.
No, not that. Take it away, please.
A mighty superhero, afraid of a tiny pussycat.
Get it away!
Dr. Extra and her man-beasts are similar to the High Evolutionary and his new men from Marvel Comics. Also, one can't help but to be reminded of the genetically altered character Tigress from the Batman the Animated Series episode titled Tiger Tiger. Finally, we have Varco, who is like an evil Reed Richards who has turned civilization back to the Stone Age in the episode titled Planet of the Neanderthals.
Ah, the Super Friends. They must not stop me.
We'll see about that, mister.
The episode titled Water Beast is the first Super Friends episode to technically feature an actual supervillain from the pages of DC Comics. While his surname is not used, Aquaman's #1 foe appears. Yes, it's true he's only referred to as Manta instead of Black Manta, but he has a pretty cool plan. Manta duplicates Aquaman's telepathy, which he then uses to command his Water Beast in order to terrorize the oceans so he may ransom the countries that utilize them. This isn't the last time Black Manta would have to be slightly altered to appear on television. For legal reasons regarding the live-action Aquaman series titled Mercy Reef, when it came time to feature Black Manta on Justice League Unlimited, he was forced to go by the name Devil Ray.
Excellent. Soon I will rule the oceans of the world.
The next major DC Comics villain to appear on the all-new Super Friends Hour is the Gentleman Ghost. Also known as Gentleman Jim Craddock, he first appears within the pages of Flash Comics issue number 88 by the year 1947. The Highwayman had supposedly come back as a ghost after being sent to the gallows for his thievery. Though in the early comics, there was always a bit of mystery as to the veracity of his otherworldly claims. The Gentleman Ghost often continued to steal for material gain, and used projectors and other forms of trickery to perpetuate his ghostly identity. Yet he would still make time for a spot of tea, which you have to admit is odd for anyone who's claiming to be a genuine ghost.
When I turn Metropolis Convention Center into a ghostly graveyard, they'll be convinced I mean business.
Post-crisis, the ethereal aspect of his background would be emphasized over any considerations of the villain being a simple charlatan. The Gentleman Ghost is traditionally a foe of Hawkman, and has sometimes on occasion battled the Dark Knight Detective. Although in the best all-new Super Friends episode yet, titled Ghost, he seeks to take revenge on both Superman and Wonder Woman. Since they have defeated him in the past, Gentleman Ghost plans to turn the two into fellow ghosts. If Gentleman Ghost's laugh reminds you of Skeletor, that's because both are voiced by the excellent Alan Oppenheimer.
Wonder Woman, Superman, for your crimes, I sentence you to haunt this mansion for all eternity.
Holy super ghosts! Is that Superman and Wonder Woman?
29 years later, Gentleman Ghost would go on to actually combat Superman and Wonder Woman in the pages of the comics inside JSA issue number 82. Gentleman Ghost would also go on to make further television appearances on both Justice League Unlimited as well as Batman Brave and the Bold.
Welcome to the land of the dead.
The fourth and most anticipated segment of the show pairs one of the regular cast of Super Friends with a special guest star hero each week. All of the Justice League members from the Filmation cartoons would make appearances in these segments. However, the writers did some fairly odd things with certain guests, such as the Atom and Green Lantern. For instance, Green Lantern could never be seen using his ring to fly on the show. Instead, he created a construct of a fighter jet that was really just the animation of the bat plane colored green. When traveling through India, Green Lantern oddly chooses to create a dune buggy construct as well. Sometimes the constructs he would create weren't even green.
My power ring will supply a life raft.
For some reason, I get the feeling the writers on the series must have been under the impression that the Atom was permanently stuck at his minuscule size. He is usually always seen sitting atop a fellow hero's shoulder, and even when in great danger, stays perpetually tiny.
Say, I wouldn't mind doing some skiing myself. Anybody got a pair of ice cream sticks?
Dude, you don't need ice cream sticks, just grow back to your normal size. While the Atom refuses to revert to normal size on the show, he also has a strange moment where he flies a civilian to safety. I mean, unless the suggestion is that the Atom somehow altered his mass for these stunts, I don't think flying should be part of the Atom's superhero repertoire.
I've got to use my atomic speed if I'm going to stop that car in time.
Meanwhile, guys like Flash and Hawkman were treated far better. While the Flash is a founding member, Hawkman first joins the Justice League of America by issue number 31 in the year 1964. Usually on the all-new Super Friends Hour, Hawkman is accompanied by his wife, Hawkgirl. Hawkgirl is also known as Shira Hall, who first appears alongside Hawkman in the pages of Flash Comics issue number 1 in the year 1940. A year later, Shira takes up crime fighting in her husband's likeness as Hawkgirl within the pages of All-Star Comics issue number 5. While having aided the League for many years, Hawkgirl officially becomes a member of the Justice League of America within the pages of Justice League of America issue 146 by the year 1977. Eventually, Shira takes on the name Hawkwoman inside the pages of World's Finest Comics issue 272 by the year 1981. The husband and wife duo fight Jawa wannabes with Superman in the episode titled Space Emergency. The Hawk's character designs on the Super Friends are based on the Silver Age versions, who were alien law enforcement officers from the planet Thanagar. Most of their appearances on the various Super Friends series would reflect this, with the exception of a single episode from the Lost season. In the episode titled Unexpected Treasure, Hawkgirl sports a new, never-before-seen costume and the blonde hairdo.
What about just a goodnight kiss? On the lips? Cheek? Just a hug? Okay, 4 of that, 2 at half service. Wait, what?
Just ask him. I'll pay extra.
Do you have costumes? Hawkwoman.
Girl!
Hawkgirl?
The South American heroine, Rima the Jungle Girl, made several guest appearances on the all-new Super Friends Hour. Rima would often utilize her special gifts to communicate with the animals of the jungle, usually by yodeling out some crazy Tarzan-like cry.
At Rima's command, the jungle animals use their keen senses to help locate the missing geologists. Using their jungle telegraph, the location of the Jivaro village is quickly relayed to Rima.
Just as I feared. They are prisoners of the Javaros.
Novelist W.H. Hudson's Green Mansions, a romance of the tropical forest from the year 1904, introduces the character Rima. In the year 1959, the book was adapted into a film starring Audrey Hepburn as the title character. By the year 1974, DC Comics would publish their own adaptation, called Rima the Jungle Girl. Most recently, Rima the Jungle Girl can be seen in an all-new interpretation as part of the First Wave miniseries, fighting alongside characters such as the Spirit and Doc Savage.
This jungle cover is too thick, Wonder Woman. My animal friends may be able to help us on the ground.
I'll land the invisible jet in that clearing.
In addition to the heroic guest stars from DC Comics, there were several newly created heroes from Hanna-Barbera. While it's probably easy to sit back in judgment over how these new superheroes seem like one-dimensional stereotypes, they did at least expose a Saturday morning television audience to a variety of cultures previously unseen on the Super Friends.
Do not be afraid. I have come to help.
Samurai is a Japanese superhero whose powers tend to remind me of both the Red Tornado and the Martian Manhunter. Samurai's primary ability allows him to control the winds. The character often traveled by way of flight when he made his lower body a spinning tornado that propelled him through the air. To invoke this power set, Samurai would shout his signature special move in his native tongue, much like Japanese anime heroes do today.
Using his powers of the mind, Samurai changes into the wind.
While the special move that translates to English as swift as the wind covers the Red Tornado aspects of Samurai's power set, he also has the ability to turn invisible like the Justice League's Martian Manhunter.
I have a simple idea that should work, Superman. Tome Ningen!
Calling out the Japanese words for invisible, Samurai slowly disappears.
Samurai could also be seen using additional special moves to engulf himself and his opponent in flames.
A samurai is trained to use equal force against an opponent. I will fight fire with fire. Ego Moe!
or merely cause the illusion of fire to scare some fearful extraterrestrials who have imprisoned him.
I have an old Japanese trick that will get me out of here. Higa moe! A fire!
Quick, the extinguishers!
That fire is just an illusion.
Out of all of the Hanna-Barbera created superheroes, only Samurai would continue to be featured by the final incarnation, Superpowers team Galactic Guardians. Because of this longevity, the character received an action figure in the Kenner's Superpowers toy line and made his first DC Comics appearance in Volume 3 of the miniseries Superpowers from the year 1986. Thanks to the implementation of Project Superhero by Kronar of New Genesis, history professor Toshio Ito from Hokkaido would be transformed into the Lord of the Winds, Samurai. Samurai would later make a cameo within the pages of the DC 1 Million 80-page giant in the story titled Crisis 1 Million by the year 1999. Samurai appears alongside fellow Hanna-Barbera creations Apache Chief and Black Vulcan. Samurai is also featured inside the pages of Justice League of America, issue number 46, as one of the heroes enveloped by the madness of the Starheart throughout the events of the Brightest Day tie-in story. Samurai's Ultraman counterpart on the animated series, Justice League Unlimited, is the leader of the team, called Wind Dragon.
Power. That's what it always comes down to, doesn't it? And that's the only way we'll ever be remembered.
Apache Chief is a Native American superhero who is an excellent tracker that uses a magic word to grow to gigantic size in order to combat giant serpents and abominable snowmen. Apache Chief also possesses excellent eyesight that is above and beyond that of any normal human being.
Batman, I see movement beyond the forest.
Holy eagle eyes, I can't see a thing.
We'll check it out.
Later, Apache Chief's backstory is revealed in the Challenge of the Super Friends episode titled History of Doom. Before he was a Super Friend, he saved his elder chief from a bear attack as a young brave. The special magic power given to him by the elder enables him to stop the bear without harm coming to either party. This same powder was stolen by Apache Chief's opposite number on the Challenge series, Giganta. Even though this is not her origin from the Wonder Woman comics, it seems to make sense having Apache Chief go up against Giganta. I often actually wondered why he didn't appear in the episode The 50-Foot Woman to stop the gigantic Professor Zahn.
I'm saving television, Lois. Apache Chief, put the satellite on the roof.
Sure, Peter. Apache Chief, Chuck.
Well, that was the high point of my day. Guess I'll go gamble.
The character Manito Raven, who first appears in JLA issue number 66 by the year 2002, is based upon Hanna-Barbera's Apache Chief. Like Apache Chief, when spellcasting, Manito Raven would also shout out the magic word Inekchuk. Continuing the trend, Apache Chief's Ultraman counterpart from Justice League Unlimited is called Long Shadow. Apache Chief would also go on to make appearances with his fellow super friend Black Vulcan on the Adult Swim comedy series Harvey Birdman, Attorney at Law.
Mr. Vulcan, tell us about your superpower.
Pure electricity. Ooh. In my pants.
Oh, my.
Sorry, man.
Tell us, what would life be like without your powers?
Well, you know how it is when the power goes out in your house? It would be like that, only in your pants.
Indeed. Your witness.
Isn't it true that the reason you left the Super Friends is because you were fired? Fired? Fire! Why?
They said it was some sort of budget thing. But I think it's because I complained that they were always pairing me up with a white super friend. Like I was gonna start super looting the minute they weren't watching. And you think I named myself Black Vulcan? Hell no. I used to go by Super Volt. Black Vulcan was Aquaman's idea. And I said, well, maybe we should just call you Whitefish.
Black Vulcan is an African-American superhero able to emit electrical discharges from his hands as well as use them to fly. In some cases, Black Vulcan turns into a lightning bolt to travel as pure energy, which reminds me quite a bit of the powers of Monica Rambeau, also known as Captain Marvel, also known as Photon from Marvel Comics.
With my lightning form, I can streak through the sewer system and find that device fast.
Of course, you may be wondering why Hanna-Barbera didn't just use the already existing DC Comics superhero, Black Lightning. When I was a little kid, even though they had totally different costumes, I always thought of them as the same guy. In his creator-owned title, Irredeemable, Mark Waid pokes fun at that assumption with his character pastiche called Volt. The prevailing thought is that Black Vulcan was concocted to avoid Hanna-Barbera having to pay Black Lightning creator Tony Isabella any royalties.
Black Vulcan!
Yeah, you look like a battery commercial. Next.
The character Soul Power from the animated series Static Shock is probably another example of a rose by any other name smelling of no royalties. Buster Jones would provide the voice for Black Vulcan, but I will always remember him as the character Doc from G.I. Joe.
Looks like we've got a job to do, Aquaman. Let's move them out.
The final member of the Ultimen is Black Vulcan's counterpart called Juice, while Superman is nearly killed at the hands of Winddragon, which of course irritates yours truly to no end. The Batman bias of the series creators shines through as he soundly defeats Juice.
Lights out, old chum.
Interestingly enough, I do think they went overboard with all of Batman's special gadgets on the all-new Super Friends Hour. I think the amount of ridiculous bat gadgetry used on the all-new Super Friends Hour may even rival the Adam West Batman series.
Bat wheels ready. Let's go.
Quick! Disintegrate them!
Faster, Robin!
Roller skates!
I've said this before and I'll say it again. I enjoy generally seeing Superman in full control of his faculties, displaying the full spectrum and range of his abilities. There may be an occasional silly moment here and there, but at least you won't catch Superman wearing any fishbowls on his head to travel through outer space.
What is it? The Super Earthling.
You mean Superman.
In between the 4 segments of the hour-long show, several spots were shown where Super Friends would provide safety or health advice, information on how to perform certain magic tricks, much like Sabrina the Teenage Witch did in the Archie Comedy Hour, how kids could keep busy with arts and crafts projects, and lastly, the Decoder Session, in which a Super Friend would provide clues to solve a word puzzle that had to do with the crux of the main storyline. Even though I find the hour-long format a bit of a bear to sit through, this show is a must-see for any fan of DC Comics.
It's your show from here. In that case, it's time for the curtain call.
See another man inside of me. It lets me run and try to jump and maybe even fly. Wanna get my head in, I up, get my head in. Take me, leave me in the rain. We are all just super friends, like Robin, Apache, and Aquaman. Give me